Right. A shocker in Wisconsin and a sign of hope. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. For the past couple of weeks, we've been focused heavy on a Korean-American communist in the state of Wisconsin. Francesca Hong was attempting to pull a fast one, ascend from relative obscurity to the governor's mansion, hoping to take minimal heat for her atrocious comments about our country in the process. For years, Hong has proudly displayed herself as an anti-white, anti-American communist with dreams of dismantling systems of oppression here in the United States. Now, all the polling in the last couple of weeks had Hong winning last night by 20 or 30 points in this primary. That was until conservative media, shows like this one, pulled voters' eyelids apart in Wisconsin and forced them to see who this woman really is. A woman who hates our culture, hates our people, hates our holidays even, hates our entire way of life. She hit it well last night by dancing, but there was suddenly a very nervous Francesca Hong walking out onto the stage to speak to supporters in a race that was suddenly, shockingly, way too close to call. A race that she had thought would have been over by about 8:01 p.m.
Wisconsin, we have built something that will change politics forever. The work we have done will be remembered forever. We are fighting to become once more what Wisconsin has always been, a place where our future is determined not by corporations and billionaires, but our future that's determined by the working class people who live here.
You see, they had to amend the victory speech there. Hong's generic wait and see speech was a sign of what was to come. Her primary opponent, David Crowley, eked out a victory last night, winning by just a few thousand votes in a race that he was set to lose by about 20,000. Democrats in Wisconsin were swayed by a media firestorm that started on the conservative side. The political write-up this morning, the far left hits a wall. Francesca Hong's stunning loss in Wisconsin's Democrat gubernatorial primary Tuesday night revealed limits to the far left's power. Young Turks host Cenk Uygur, she got clobbered by the national media, didn't respond as deftly as Abdul El Sayed in Michigan, and didn't have time to build a counter-narrative. But there's no counter-narrative for what she is. There's no counter-narrative for, I hate the country, I hate white people, I hate capitalism, and I want to let the government decimate all the prosperity of this country and let my comrades take over this country, destroy it, and build it back the way I'd like to see it run. As a 37-year-old failed restaurateur, Asian woman living in Wisconsin. Cenk's nephew, communist influencer Hasan Piker, was absolutely furious over the results. Take a listen.
I want to put boomers in the machine, in the contraption. I can't do it. I can't. You're going to catch me on voters. I don't like on voters. They will continue to undermine us, but they will not underestimate us. So the knives will be out. The media will do everything in its power to try to discourage you. Them. And Thanksgiving too.
It's wild, isn't it? They just hate the country, and they're so pissed off that it's really hard to destroy this country. It infuriates them as he sits there in his $3 million house, by the way. Just awful people all around. Hasan Piker campaigned for this woman. Tells you about everything you need to know. A man who admires Mao Zedong so much he dresses like him in speeches. If a fully committed, cosplaying idiot communist who admires tyrants that kill millions of people is campaigning for somebody, that person cannot win. And in this case, she didn't. The electorate actually woke up and actually listened to her words.
We have to dismantle police unions, defund the police, protect Black lives. The service industry, our industry really did come from and kind of is rooted in white supremacy.
My proximity to whiteness continues, right? My son is biracial. He's half white.
I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made was a Thanksgiving meal. Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities.
It's important to see it through the lens of toxic white supremacy culture that is ingrained in this country's history.
Yeah, that's who she is. That wanted to be the governor of the state of Wisconsin. That's a very, very dangerous woman right there. And she tried mightily to brush off all of that and pretend that she simply wants to make your groceries cheaper. All that rhetoric went away. And all you heard about was the cost of everything's too expensive, and we just want to make it more affordable for you. No, that's not your agenda. That's not what you're passionate about. We know exactly who you are. Nobody bought what she tried to become, what she tried to manifest during this primary. Nobody bought it. Even Bill Maher, to his credit, jumped in on this at the kind of at the last moment to try and remove this threat. This was from his show last Friday.
Democrats have found a candidate who hates Thanksgiving. It's running for governor in Wisconsin, Francesca Hong. Have you heard about this? Yeah, Thanksgiving, she says, should be canceled. Of course, yesterday she went on CNN, renounced it. I don't believe you. I don't believe you people who renounce things. We know what you said. You mean it. Live by it. You squirrely out of it. No, you meant it. You know why I know she meant it? Because she hates all holidays. She talked about feeling attacked on Christmas when someone put on her computer a Christmas scene. Doesn't like fireworks, 4th of July. This woman doesn't like Valentine's Day. Another way of capitalism taking over our love life.
You like him when he's on your side, right? He's good at that. A little late to the game, but Maher's dagger might have been the kill shot on this woman, costing Hong just enough. Only lost by a few thousand votes, losing that primary by a fingernail. Lucky. Katie Zacharia, Senior Communications Advisor for True Social, joins us now. Katie, everybody thought this was in the bag for this woman, and then you start thinking, I mean, this is Wisconsin. This is the Midwest. And it's a state that's been running blue, and you thought she could be running the state of Wisconsin. It was like a tragedy averted last night.
Well, Rob, I do want to say President Trump won Wisconsin as a swing state, and I campaigned for Hub D in Wisconsin. I was on the ground in Wisconsin, and as much as everybody wants to play around with these far left socialist candidates, it doesn't work in the Midwest. It doesn't work. And just like El Said is not going to work in Michigan against Mike Rogers, they can put someone like Mamdani in New York, but it doesn't work in Michigan or Wisconsin. So as much as they were saying it was so close, I feel like it's going to be the same Texas with Ken Paxton and Tallarico. I think obviously Ken Paxton is going to pull ahead, Rob.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are talking about today is how bad the polling is. I can have a little forgiveness for the polling in this case because I think everything shifted on her really fast. When the media all decided we need to show everyone who this is, I think that made a big difference. But I do agree that the polling has gotten weaker and weaker in recent years. Trump kind of changed that whole game. I want to bring in Dan O'Donnell. He's a Milwaukee radio host who's joining us now. This is your city. This is your state, sir. Francesca Hong got knocked off last night. It didn't seem like that was going to happen.
No, it really didn't. I mean, this was a pretty massive upset. But the reality is the Democratic Party of Wisconsin really was going as hard as it could to try to stop her because they realized, I think, what everybody else in the country did, that Francesca Hong came across looking like a complete buffoon, just uninformed, radical, and wholly unable to explain her past positions or try to at least lie about them, make them palatable to people across the country, the normies, so to speak, who are going to be voting in a general election. The party said, nope, we're not going to do that. So they did their best to try to rig the thing for David Crowley. Yeah. I mean, it's really, I think, as simple as that. That's what a lot of people are missing about this, that the Democratic Party really worked for nearly a year to try to ensure that neither Hong nor another socialist candidate, Mandela Barnes, our former lieutenant governor, were going to be the party's nominee because they knew neither of those two can win.
But let's be honest, all that work really didn't work at all, because she was looking really good, I think, until toward the end when everybody got to see who she was, and I think it needed national media attention to show people who it was, and I think that's what really pulled it back for her. I mean, she just barely lost this thing. Katie, I want to take a listen to this. I think Americans really need to realize who these DSA socialists are and what they actually believe. I think she's just one of several of these candidates we're going to have to go through here in the coming years. Take a listen to this.
It says defund police on the website. That's your goal. And also to get rid of prisons and jails, correct?
Yes.
So if my daughter is assaulted and raped, is there any agency that would seek to find her assailant and bring him to justice?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
What would
absolutely.
it be if not police, and where would he be if not a jail?
So I guess I really want to avoid getting kind of caught into these hypotheticals, and we're not spending money on things that actually make people safe and feel safe, which is things like actually well-lit streets.
I mean, that is such an indication, Katie. All they want to do is dismantle the current system. They just want to drag this thing down and light it on fire. They don't care about what comes next, because that's not really their problem.
Right. It actually shows Van Jones and Carville are more in touch with the American people than all of us assumed. Right. Carville said the three most dumb words are defund the police. He knows that this does not work, even for the Democrats. Van Jones said this is too extreme, and they know that this platform is a losing recipe for the Democrat Party. And so to continue to promote defunding the police, again, that might work in the radical left, Mamdani's New York, or Bass's Los Angeles right now, or Ramon's maybe if she wins, but it's not going to work in the Midwest, and it won't work in the 7 swing states for whatever Democrat nominee they put up.
Dan, a sigh of relief in the Midwest after this?
Yes and no. Francesca Hong was so uniquely awful that even Bernie Sanders and AOC wouldn't endorse her. So I think the thinking for a lot of Republicans was she would be the by far easiest candidate to beat. I always counter that with, you want these people nowhere near a general election, no matter what the betting odds say about whether Tom Tiffany was going to have a 70% chance of beating her, or 80%. Democrat versus Republican elections ultimately are 50-50 propositions. I would not want a coin flip to decide whether my state, the state I love, the state I've lived in my entire life, to be ruled by a socialist. I do not think that you want to be that close to being governed by people who want to fundamentally tear down the very foundations of this country.
1000%. Dan O'Donnell, Katie Zacharia, good to have you both. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right, former sports reporter Michele Tafoya won her primary race last night. She's now the Republican Senate candidate for the state of Minnesota, a race that will be, of course, very interesting to watch here in the fall. Michele, it's good to see you again. Before we get to your race, and we will, I want to talk about last night for a second. I want to talk about the astounding reversal that we saw in your neighboring state of Wisconsin, where we saw Francesca Hong, who wanted to be the governor, and was dominating in these polls by 20 or 30 points. And then I want to get your analysis of this, but to me it seems like, I think as soon as the media kind of moved on her and began showing people who she is and revealing just her complete disdain for the culture of this country and for everything this country kind of is, everything kind of moved in the wrong direction really fast for her. It was an amazing loss.
It truly was, and it kind of reminded me of when, Tim Walz was never really vetted here in Minnesota until he became the vice presidential candidate, and then everyone started looking under the hood, and we didn't like what we saw, and we learned a lot. And so, yes, the media really dug into her past posts and a lot of things that made her look, quite frankly, just like she doesn't want to live here. That she's got anxiety when she's near white people, that she hates Thanksgiving on all the rest. And the Wisconsinites decided to go another way. So I think that's likely a good sign for the state.
I think it's, I was going to just say the same thing. It's kind of refreshing to see that at least when you put all that information out there, at least people didn't just double down and say we're still voting for her, because that would have been terrifying, even in a Democrat primary. That would have been very scary. Let's talk about you for a second. You won your primary, very healthy margin last night. Nice performance, 52 points, your closest opponent at 24. This is a state with 2 Democrat senators, and you're a very electable Republican. How badly, your state's been in the news a lot in the last year. How badly does your state need some Republican leadership?
Oh my gosh, you were talking about when everything's put on the table and we show everyone exactly who Peggy Flanagan is. That's my Democrat opponent now. Yeah. I think Minnesotans are going to say, no way. Look, we've been going 100 miles per hour in the wrong direction for a long time now, and it's all happened under single party establishment rule in St. Paul, our capital. And it's led us to this place of $9 billion worth of fraud, at least, total national embarrassment. Crime going up while test scores go down, and Minnesotans are tired. And look, for those of us who love this state, this is heartbreaking. I met my husband here. We raised our kids here. I grew my career here, and I'm not going to sit by and let all of these businesses continue to flee Minnesota and have it so unaffordable that our kids can't stay.
Well, let's talk for a second about Penny Flanagan. That's Tim Walz. That's your governor's number 2 right now. After we realized just the tremendous scale of largely Somali refugee fraud in your state, a story that I still is just surreal to me that we've not been watching any of the money that they take out of all our pockets, that the government has no interest in protecting all that money. After we saw the scale of that fraud, instead of condemning that in any way, we watched your opponent in November put a hijab on to pander to this community as a response to it. Take a listen to this.
I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. When I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota.
That's a priceless video to look at. I just want to play one more clip. This is what she had to say about you last night.
Donald Trump has cost our state far too much already. And we are not about to give Donald Trump another loyal soldier like Michele Tafoya to take his orders and do his bidding. We already have too many spineless yes sir senators who won't stand up to Donald Trump. Minnesota, we are not going to send him another one. And Michele Tafoya may not understand what you're going through, but I do.
I want to let you just respond to that and talk about Peggy Flanagan.
She doesn't understand what she has put Minnesota through. She didn't mention fraud one time in her speech last night because she doesn't care. She's trying to convince people it didn't happen, didn't really affect anyone, it's all okay. But I am telling you, when I go across this state, Minnesotans of every political stripe are furious about the fraud. They feel ripped off. This isn't some nebulous government money. This is taxpayer money that just not only did it get stolen, it wasn't given to the people who really needed it. Does she care about them? Does she know what they're going through now that their programs have been shut down because they couldn't handle Medicaid and Feeding Our Future and all the other programs that got absolutely hollowed out because of their fraud? Does she understand any of that? Does she understand that they are the businesses are so highly taxed and regulated in this state that they are leaving? Does she understand that? Does she understand that those businesses hire people? They are philanthropists. This tax base that we're losing is going away. Does she understand what that does to the state of Minnesota? She's going to play that victim card that she's somehow oppressed and I'm somehow a puppet. Look, I will call balls and strikes. Let's put in the sports analogy here. When I agree with the president on something, I will say so. When I disagree, I will say so. I am running to represent Minnesotans and Minnesotans only, not party interests, not the establishment, not lobbyists, not special interests. She, on the other hand, has caved to all of them.
Yeah. My favorite thing about you is that you're not a career politician. You went out into the world, you made some success for yourself. That's the way the design was supposed to be. You were supposed to go out in the world, do something, and then go into politics to make the country better. You're doing it that way, and in a state that definitely needs some Republican representation. Michele Tafoya running for senator here in the fall. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, coming up, a pending political disaster for Gavin Newsom in California as the state's inspector general says the failed high-speed rail project will fully go bankrupt just as Newsom's presidential campaign gets serious. And then later in News from the Left, Michigan's insecure Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed embarrasses himself with a hard flex on his opponent.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
If you get hurt, I got hurt. Don't take the low ball offer from insurance. Call Top Dog Law. I'm calling Top Dog. If you don't win, you don't pay. There's no risk. No risk, but I got the reward. TopDogLaw.com.
I am a big believer in super beta prostate. You'll notice less urges to urinate, and you won't be getting up at night for so many bathroom trips. I wouldn't say it if I didn't truly believe it.
You might take something for your heart or your joints. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? Prevagen for your brain.
Hi, I'm Karan. I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. I noticed a significant change. I feel confident.
Prevagen for your brain. Every day presents a new opportunity for you to take care of your brain. Supplement your good brain habits with Prevagen. Prevagen for your brain.
Whether it's care before or after school, or a sitter for date night, you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at care.com.
With Jackpocket, you can order official state lottery tickets anytime, anywhere. And you can see your ticket on the app. Plus, with new official state scratch-offs available on the app, more of your favorite games are right at your fingertips.
New Jackpocket customers get $10 instantly in lottery credits when you deposit just $5.
All right, welcome back. Gavin Newsom's political future already looks kind of bleak. He's not terribly popular going into 2028, and he's been trying really hard. This is not going to help. After blowing $18 billion so far on California's high-speed rail project and losing $4 billion in federal funds from the government in the process, the project's inspector general is now warning that California's rail project will run out of money by December 2027. They're going to run out of money, and they should. It needs to end. That would mean, though, a disaster for the state fiscally and also for Newsom's campaign, right in the thick of it. Newsom has until the end of the month to come up with some kind of solution when California's legislative session ends. Abel Maldonado is a former lieutenant governor of California. Josh Hammer is senior counsel at the Article 3 Project and host of the Josh Hammer Show. Good to have you guys here. Abel, I imagine he's got some kind of Band-Aid he's working on already. But talk about the worst possible time for this project to blow up in 2027.
Rob, it couldn't be a better time if we don't, like us as Californians who just have watched Gavin Newsom over the years, his disaster. This is an epic failure on Gavin Newsom, and America should look at what he's done. He's already spent $18 billion. $18 billion. No train. The train's not running. It doesn't run, Rob. And all of a sudden, he's got a situation here where what is he going to do? His train, it's headed to Brokeville, baby. This train's not going to move. And the one thing we learned early on is that how do you get out of a hole? You stop spending. You stop digging. And this guy, what he promised Californians was high-speed rail. We got high-speed spending by this guy. And I want America to know what he's been doing here.
Yeah, it's another example. You're going to let this guy run the country, Josh?
Exactly.
Listen, Gavin Newsom is in many ways less popular, frankly, than venereal disease. He's actually the first governor in the entire history of California to actually lose population. I think it's a very important point to make, Rob. So California was founded in the 1850s until 2020. Literally every census, every 10 years, it gained population. Gavin Newsom was the first sitting governor to preside over a population net egress instead of an ingress, and net exit of people fleeing the state to places like where I live in Florida, Texas, Tennessee, just comparatively saner states, even nearby places like Nevada. Under Gavin Newsom, California has become more crime-ridden. There's more homelessness. The quality of life has just gotten out of control. Costs are terrible, and this is going to really just accentuate that. It's a big exclamation mark, Rob, in many ways, on just the utter catastrophic poop show that is Gavin Newsom's gubernatorial tenure.
We can't underestimate him, Rob. We can't underestimate this guy. This guy speaks very smooth. He looks pretty. Right. He wants to be president, and he's going to lie through his teeth to get elected. He's got to go to the swing states.
100%. You got to look at what he's done. You got to tell people you got to pay attention to what exactly he's done and what he's done to his state. And he's a very flaky, vacant person. He just wants to have power. He just wants to advance his political
100%,
career. I want to show this to both of you guys before I let you guys go. We'll move from California over to the other side of the country in New York. Here in New York, Mamdani's rent freeze is doing exactly what economists expected. New York Post reporting now Manhattan rents have reached an all-time high. The average at $66.55. $6,600 a month is the average in Manhattan. Here's the mayor answering a question about his pied-à-terre tax earlier today as well.
We continue to be confident not only in the importance of a tax on secondary homes worth more than $5 million, in the necessity of the $500 million it would raise towards making sure that our streets are safer, making sure that our schools are stronger, that our city is more affordable. And also our law department has informed Mr. Mastro that it will appear before the Appellate Division, Second Department on Thursday morning to address the stay and any other related matters.
So, Josh, they need more tax revenue. They don't have enough money coming in, apparently, into this city that's doubled the spending in like 10 years. And also, would you be so shocked to think that freezing the rent for millions of people in a city might have an adverse effect on the rest of the rent payers as rent skyrockets?
Yeah, Rob, that famous quote from Margaret Thatcher comes to mind, that the problem with socialism is that you inevitably will run out of other people's money. But, I mean, who among us could have possibly thought that putting price controls and trying to limit the supply of rental property could actually increase the price of that property? Why? Because people aren't going to want to rent. You'll have fewer landlords, which I think is what Mamdani wants. He's essentially committed a de facto war on landlords in New York City. The victim of this, of course, Rob, is the median New Yorker, who's paying more for groceries, more for their rent, more in everything, because that's what socialism does. It has bankrupted every single person it has touched ever since it was first tried to disastrous effect a long time ago.
The brilliance of it is, though, they make it so expensive, and then they say, okay, let's go full-blown socialism. We can't afford anything now because of our policies. Now we're going to socialize the whole economy. Josh, Abel, good to have you both. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, liberal women rejoicing. You can now kill a baby right up until birth and call it health care.
You know, I think the biggest selling point for Newsmax is we're not doing the same boring, predictable news. You flip through the other channels, you got these high-paid hosts. They say the same thing every night. You know what they're going to say. It's a little different.
How easy is it to order lottery tickets with Jackpocket? Step 1, grab your phone. Step 2, download Jackpocket and order tickets for your favorite state lottery games. Step 3, let the good times roll.
New Jackpocket customers get $10 instantly in lottery credits when you deposit just $5.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Ever worry that you're drinking too much? Take back control with Or Health. Or Health provides access to medication proven to help, a daily pill to drink less, or to quit drinking altogether. Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
You know, when I came in here, I was at a 15, and that's no joke. My spinal cord was almost severed. I feel like I'm gaining my freedom. My pain level of the day is nothing.
No pain now? No. Okay, feels good? Yep.
And I can feel my legs waking up and getting feeling back in my leg and my foot I haven't had in a year and a half, 2 years. I feel like I'm getting my life back.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
Every 8 minutes, a claim of sexual assault is filed against rideshare drivers. But rideshare companies prohibit both drivers and riders from carrying firearms to protect themselves.
Imagine this banana was a less lethal device capable of incapacitating an attacker in a fraction of a second and allowing you to escape.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas. Go to Byrna.com to find out how you can always be prepared to defend.
Case after case, unsolved, unsolved, unsolved. They don't care about us. I believe in justice.
You're partnering with one of the most ruthless mobsters in history.
We're gonna let these crackers know their consequences.
Now this is getting good. Kill them all. There's no rules.
They came for me. And my wife.
Who's this?
That's my job.
By any means, only in theaters September 4th.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Some joyful depravity in the state of Massachusetts. Watch this as far-left Governor Maher signs a new bill into law allowing abortion up until birth with no legal restrictions on doctors at all. Surrounded by applauding and smiling women, Massachusetts now the 10th blue state to remove gestational limits on abortion since the ending of Roe versus Wade. Healy also pledged to keep abortion safe, legal, and accessible for as long as she is governor. Quite a gaslight in that phrase. The overwhelming majority of abortions, you should know, 95 to 98% are fully elective, just for personal, financial reasons. Kill the baby. Legitimate reasons for abortion, rape, incest, life of mother, rarely are the reason, very rarely. And approximately 4,100 abortions happen every single year after the 21st week, and that's pretty deep in to the pregnancy. Abby Johnson, former Planned Parenthood director who turned the other way, joins us now. Margaret Olohan, White House correspondent for the Daily Wire. Ladies, good to have you both here. Abby, you witnessed the horror inside these abortion clinics at Planned Parenthood. It made you become an anti-abortion activist. What does it look like to you when you see smiles and applauding a bill like this?
It looks like a coven of witches celebrating depravity, just what you said. Women celebrating the right to kill babies, murder babies right up until the moment of birth. Women celebrating the right to suction out a child's brain, to slit the back of their necks and murder them painfully, torturously, barbarically. That's what they're celebrating. And I think it's a painful mark on the soul of this nation and shows just how low we are in our country.
Couldn't agree more. Mary Margaret, the governor, though, says it's vital health care for women. Take a listen.
And I'm proud as governor that I've been able to work with the legislature to make sure that we stand up for women, mothers and fathers and families in making health care decisions for themselves. The bottom line for people in Massachusetts, if you care about women's health, if you care about making sure that women are able to access the health care that they need in consultation with their doctors, to be clear, I stand with women. My opponents do not.
I tell you, one of the most incredible euphemisms I've ever heard politically is women's health care being the phrase for abortion. Mary Margaret, go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, women's health care has become this euphemism for pretty much anything that the left wants, whether it's transgender, so-called gender-affirming care, or whether we're talking about abortions of unborn babies. And look, Rob, this is a situation where Democrats are vastly overplaying their hand. They know that Republicans have struggled with talking about abortion since Roe v. Wade was overturned. But what they're not realizing here is that most Americans support restrictions on abortion after the baby can feel pain. They support restrictions on abortion when the baby's fully formed. And they especially support restrictions on abortion when the baby's about to be born. Most Americans understand that this is an incredibly barbaric practice. And if you look at the language of Massachusetts' new law, it kind of suggests that it's up to the physician to decide when the baby is aborted, which is just what we saw in Virginia, where Governor Northam suggested that, this could be up to or after birth. If it's up to the physician, why not decide after birth? So They're overplaying their hand here. And even President Trump, we've heard him many times talk about how late-term abortions up till or after birth are barbaric and inhumane. They're frankly giving Republicans an easy way to talk about abortion because what they're doing is so barbaric and inhumane that it only lends itself to the very arguments they're trying to defeat.
They're just counting on, a lot of people have not seen the things that Abby has seen. That's what they're counting on. If you had seen those, you'd feel a lot differently about women's health care. Abby Johnson, Margaret Olohan, thanks so much, ladies. We appreciate it. Coming up here after the break, the Trump administration rapidly pushing people off the dole and sending them back to work. We've got some very impressive numbers on food stamps up next.
All across the nation, people can't stop talking about Carl Higbie and Frontline for the big news they need to know. Watch Carl Higbie, Frontline, tomorrow at 6 p.m., only on Newsmax.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Sienna, and we started Create after realizing that the incredible daily benefits of creatine could be for everyone, not just gym goers.
Our incredible tasting Create gummies were designed in partnership with top creatine scientists and researchers and help support daily energy levels, boost mental clarity, and build and retain muscle.
They come in several delicious flavors, and there's no measuring or messy powder, so it's simple to keep a routine.
Create is creatine for everyone.
Learn more at trycreate.co.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Do you believe in miracles? Is this not a miracle? All these homes here are mortgage-free homes.
This amenity center, along with this community, speaks volumes without even saying a word.
It's like a big dining room table in your house. This amenity center is going to bring so many families together all day, every day.
The only way that this happens is out of people's generosity and kindness. Every single bit makes a difference in someone's life.
Go to T2T.org.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot starting at only $950. Then we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
Stop, check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
2 p.m. still works great. We'll put our best guy on the job.
You said you were the best guy.
Also the sales guy.
You should check out Capitus. You can get a fast business loan and hire some help.
I got that.
Stop waiting, start growing. Get the funding you need at Capitus.com.
Want to see a ripple effect? It starts with one action. Get an Aquasana water filter and improve the quality of your water everywhere it flows.
One change, big difference.
Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories at Ancestry.
Welcome back. Trump administration really doing some work on welfare they should be proud of. According to the Agriculture Department, 5.3 million fewer people are now receiving SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps. 42.3 million it was in 2025. Look at it drop down to 37 million this year. That's the right direction. The decline in SNAP enrollments coming after new work requirements were implemented after the passage of the big, beautiful bill. SNAP recipients, you want food stamps, you got to work. Volunteer or participate in job training for at least 80 hours a month. 20 hours a week, that's it. We'll give you free food, but you got to try. 49 states saw a very healthy decline. Alaska, the only state that actually saw an increase. Arizona saw the largest decrease. Over 400,000 people in the state of Arizona no longer taking food stamps. I mean, that's tremendous. Down nearly 55%. Florida, Georgia, Louisiana seeing 20% declines in enrollments. Stephen Vaden, the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, joins us now to talk about this. This is so important, Stephen, to get these people off of these programs and they show them how to care for themselves.
That's right. The true measure of success for any benefit program is moving people from dependency on government into self-sufficiency, where they become members of the working and ultimately middle class. It's absolutely perverse, Rob, that we have entities in this town like the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities that make millions of dollars in order to keep as many people dependent on government as possible. It's perverse and it's the wrong metric.
Yeah, it's so that perverse is a perfect word for it. And every time Democrats get into power, it's like they have a competition to see how many people in this country they can get on government programs. I mean, talk about a despicable way to run society.
We've got a booming economy. We have many employers who are out there begging people to come work for them. If you want a job in the Trump economy, you can get a job. And it's not as though we're not taking care of those who are actually in need. Rob, we spend an amazing here at USDA $385 million per day on nutrition programs for those in need. What our goal is to get as many people into the workforce as possible so that they can be self-sufficient and help their families through their own work.
Yeah. I got 20 seconds left, but also just it has to have a good impact on the price of food in this country as well. If the government's buying less food to hand out for free, it's the same as rent control and every other kind of program. As if it gets smaller and smaller, it should help with grocery prices.
Well, and don't forget, we're also working to stamp out fraud. We have found through 29 states that have voluntarily shared data with us that there are hundreds of thousands of people who are receiving benefits simultaneously from multiple states, or more than 186,000 dead people. We're removing those people from the rolls. We're not the state of Illinois. This isn't an election in Chicago. We don't want dead people on our rolls. And all of that contributes to the lessening number of people you see who are receiving food stamp benefits. And that's going in the right direction.
Slice it apart. Get rid of entitlement. It's so toxic. Get people to figure it out on their own. That's the way to prosperity. Stephen Vaden, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the DOJ announcing a major crackdown on marriage fraud, arresting 11 scammers who conspired to help Chinese nationals get green cards. Over 1,000 fake marriages in total, taking place over a decade. The Attorney General Todd Blanche right here.
Chinese nationals would pay these facilitators as much as $100,000 for assistance in obtaining a marriage, which then allowed them to apply for a green card. The facilitators also paid willing U.S. citizens as much as $30,000 to engage in the sham marriage with the foreign national. Married couples would visit a local office affiliated with the scheme, sign forms for submission to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, learn about the USCIS interview process to apply for a green card.
And Todd Bensman joined us now, former DHS advisor. Todd, good to see you. You know, there's so many different ways that this country gets scammed. Marriage fraud, you got anchor babies, so many ways the whole world is trying to get in on this wealthy country.
Well, more green cards are issued in this country to family-based foreign nationals, mostly spouses, people that are getting married, than any other category. So they estimate somewhere in the order of 240 to 250,000 of those a year, and anywhere between 5 and 30% of those are regarded as fraudulent or at least suspicious. It's very difficult to suss out a marriage fraud situation where both parties are involved. There are rings out there that specialize in making sure that we don't find out about them, that we don't bust them. Very serious consequences for doing that, up to 5 years in prison, big fines, permanent bars on anybody that gets caught. And then there's a whole other category called romance fraud, where a foreign national pretends to be in love with a U.S. citizen. They unknowingly, they end up getting dumped within a year or two, and they got their green card.
Yeah, exactly. There's also a State Department establishing a task force to end birth tourism after Trump's executive order targeting children born to foreign mothers who deceptively enter the U.S. just to have the kid. This is something that has to end. I mean, the fact that there are literal hotels in California filled with foreign people that just come here to have a baby is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's just the least of it. And really, it's just an affront. It ought to be an affront to every American that our system would be abused in this way. Usually it's about benefit fraud. You drop an anchor baby here in the U.S. and then your whole family qualifies for SNAP benefits and public welfare and all the rest of that. But there are other kinds of fraud, birth tourism fraud, that are equally egregious, where you have foreign donors sending their samples here to paid American women, and then they drop babies on behalf of somebody they've never even met, and they get citizenship. Their kids get citizenship that way. Some years later, they get to bring in the whole family.
It's just unbelievable. The way we've set this system up is just unbelievable, and it needs so many changes. Todd Bensman, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, WNBA head coach Stephanie White hammered for not defending her own player, Sophie Cunningham, and then loses it in a post-game press conference. Up next in News from the Left.
The stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message, because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message, because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
You're grounded.
You're gonna ground me? When you're 45 and you haven't even screened for colon cancer.
I'm busy. I promised your mother I'd fix the sink 3 years ago.
The Cologuard Plus test is non-invasive, with no prep.
And it detects 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
Now that's thinking inside the box.
False positive and negative results may occur. The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk. Cologuard. With Jackpocket, you can order official state lottery tickets anytime, anywhere. And you can see your ticket on the app. Plus, with new official state scratch-offs available on the app, more of your favorite games are right at your fingertips.
New Jackpocket customers get $10 instantly in lottery credits when you deposit just $5.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new Care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at Care.com.
And welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Lefties and media elites have been furious all week after Trump's plane swap story in the Washington Post about that flight back from Turkey. Secret Service secretly moving the president to a different jet after an Iranian assassination threat. CNN's Jake Tapper writing online, so the Secret Service thought the threat against the president was strong enough to surreptitiously remove him from Air Force One and then proceeded to let the plane full of White House staffers and reporters take off and fly back to the U.S.? Well, the fury isn't just toward the Secret Service, though. It's Trump that they're actually mad at, a lot of them. But as the president reminded us all last night, Secret Service makes the calls on his security. He has no say in this. Take a listen.
It's only up to the Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
You know, the president's in charge of everything except his own safety. Secret Service takes care of that. Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker, of course, is furious with Trump, alleging the president doesn't care about the safety of anybody else except him. Again, the president doesn't make the call about what happens with that flight. And Secret Service, we should remind you, Secret Service had several agents flying on the actual Air Force One amid that threat. The people that knew about the threat were on the plane with the threat as well. Next up, woke WNBA head coach of the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, opening her pregame press conference on Tuesday night by lashing out at her critics, telling them to go to hell after being called out for not backing her own player, Sophie Cunningham, and defending the opposing player, Jejane Carrington, after Jejane fully attacked Sophie with a blatantly flagrant foul, just slamming her in the head. Carrington tweeting white privilege after her ejection from that game. And of course, the very liberal coach of the Indiana team, who has to coach over Sophie Cunningham, didn't like being criticized for this. And her response, here she was.
I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
Again, this is all just cosplay. This is all these people think they're so important in this league. There's 2 or 3 women that are carrying this entire thing. Nobody cares that you're a coach. You're not a good coach. You're not special. And she's so angry and she's so political about it. And finally, Michigan, if we can move up one here. Michigan Republican Mike Rogers hammering his Senate opponent Abdul El-Sayed for calling football a racist and homophobic sport which promotes toxic masculinity. So 41-year-old Abdul El-Sayed is challenging 63-year-old Mike Rogers to a football game in response to this. He didn't like to take these criticisms. So you got black tight shirt here, 5'4", black tight shirt, trying to challenge a 63-year-old man, saying, how about you hold me accountable on a football field, tackle, no pads, like we used to play when we were kids. I'd be happy to show you how much I love football. He's so insecure and he's so angry. Let's watch him lose in November. All right, coming up next, Rubio on RFK.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finnerty, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
There's a reason the wealthy don't keep all their money in one place. We work hard our entire lives to build wealth for retirement. If your retirement dropped 30% tomorrow, would you be ready? Or would you just have to wait and hope it comes back? The last thing any of us wants is to watch our retirement accounts shrink every time Wall Street panics, the dollar drops, or global uncertainty rises. That's why so many successful Americans turn to gold to help protect their retirement. And Preserve Gold is the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. Let me be frank, gold is not for everybody. And I do not give financial advice, but I do urge you to get my free wealth protection guide from Preserve Gold and learn about a special offer to receive up to $20,000 in free gold and silver. Education is power.
Text Newsmax to 50505.
How easy is it to order lottery tickets with Jackpocket? Step 1, grab your phone. Step 2, download Jackpocket and order tickets for your favorite state lottery games. Step 3, let the good times roll.
New Jackpocket customers get $10 instantly in lottery credits when you deposit just $5.
You think carefully about what fuels your body.
The way you move, the food you eat.
Aquasana water filters reduce contaminants, delivering cleaner, healthier water.
When your water is better, everything it touches is too.
Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Today, there's a special opportunity to double your gift's impact. Call now, and your gift's impact will be doubled.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Thanks to generous fellowship partners. Call now and your gift's impact will be doubled.
And finally tonight, Marco Rubio and his wife talking about Bobby Kennedy's diet was entertaining. Take a listen.
This is a diet that consists of eating sauerkraut and meat. Now, you understand, like, this is not a sustainable thing. Can you imagine? He has to travel with coolers of sauerkraut. I'm not going to travel the world with a cooler full of sauerkraut.
Are you Maher?
I'm in favor of Maher. Like, I think people should be healthy.
No, he is not. What's he eat? Pop-Tarts.
No, I don't eat Pop-Tarts every day.
Okay, you eat sweets.
The Pop-Tart is one of the great American innovations.
Pop-Tarts are good, but I kind of favor the steak and sauerkraut. That sounds better to me. Finnerty's next. See you later.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.